Hi everyone, it's Heather here, and as I promised, I am coming to you today with a video about underemployment. This is a topic that is really important for college students to be aware of, and also parents of college students and people who are planning to go to college, because it's a phenomenon that impacts many people who graduate with their college degree. So you may have heard of unemployment. Underemployment means something a little bit different. It refers to people who are employed, but they're not employed in a job that appropriately matches their education and skill level. So an example of this would be a recent college grad who gets a job as a receptionist, even though that receptionist role only asks for a high school diploma. And this is actually a very common phenomenon that happens to college graduates. Specifically, according to data from Burning Glass and the Strada Institute, about 43% of recent college graduates are underemployed. This means that about 2 out of every college graduates are affected by this. That's a pretty big deal because college is not cheap. And it's not just money, it's time and energy that you spend invested in those 4 years of your life. 4 years, which, by the way, you're paying to do work, you're not being paid. So that's also lost income that you have while you're in college. So it's really not good that people come out of college every year and land jobs that they could have had with just a high school diploma. Some people think that if they major in the right major, that they can avoid underemployment. And that is true to some extent because underemployment rates vary by college major. But it still happens to students across all majors, whether you're in a discipline that is in high demand or you're not, it happens in every single major. The exact breakdown looks a little bit like this. This data is from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Low underemployment, which means anywhere from like 10 to 30% of students are underemployed upon graduation, tends to happen in fields where the major really is closely aligned with a professional position, and that professional position almost always requires a college degree. So this would be things like nursing, engineering, education, and so on and so forth. On the other end of the spectrum, you see high rates of underemployment. So that's like 55% to 70% of graduates are underemployed in some fields like criminal justice, performing arts, fine arts. These are the exact opposite of those other majors I just talked about in that they are closely aligned to a particular job, but that job almost never requires a college degree. So for example, if you major in criminal justice and you become a police officer, that's great, but you don't necessarily have to have that college degree to become a police officer. We also see high rates of underemployment happening in areas such as general business and general liberal arts and general communications. So some of those general fields. And then in the middle, between like 30 and 50% around there underemployment, that tends to happen in the hard sciences, some of those business specialties, humanities specialties, liberal arts specialties, and medical fields. So again, you see underemployment happening across the spectrum, although it does vary depending on what major you have. So the major question that you probably have watching this video is, how do I avoid underemployment? It's nice to know what it is. It's nice to know that happens in every major, but how can I make sure it doesn't happen to me? And I'm happy to talk to you about that today as well. So I'm going to give you 3 tips that will help you avoid underemployment. The first is to be very purposeful about your location. So you may be studying a specific major, or be intending to go into a specific industry or field that doesn't necessarily have any opportunities in your immediate area. So make sure that wherever you plan to live after you graduate, there are job opportunities that you would be interested in and qualified for based on your professional development goals, your skill sets, etc. Sometimes you've got all of the right tools and skill sets to do a job well, but you're just not in the right place. And if that's the case, you may find that you are underemployed. Second thing to consider is specialization and targeting. So one of the biggest misconceptions that college graduates have is that they should be as open as possible when looking for a job, because that will bring more opportunities their way. But what the actual case is that companies spend a lot of money on recruiting and hiring and training new employees in career level positions that require a college degree. And what they're looking for are not people who are kind of like open and exploring and willing to do anything. They're looking for people who have planned a certain type of career, know what they're in for, know what to expect, and show up to work and actually do the work and enjoy the job day after day, month after month, year after year. If you're kind of open, you're more likely to fall into a job that you don't necessarily enjoy, and then you're more likely to leave that job, and then that turnover costs the company money. So companies often want to find college graduates who have figured out what they want to do with their lives, 1 to 2 years earlier, and have been making intentional steps to align themselves and prepare for that specific career. So if you're planning to go to college and just like find yourself without putting in any effort, you're probably going to end up underemployed. All right. If you don't know what you want to do when you start college, that's okay. But you need to be taking intentional steps to figure out what your ultimate purpose and professional goals are and what you want to specialize in, so that when you get out of college, you can compete for those career level positions that are competitive, that are looking for somebody who is willing to dedicate themselves for a period of time. My last piece of advice is to really invest yourself in the career preparation process while you're in college. So this is tied to my last piece of advice in terms of figuring out what your professional goals are and then being purposeful in planning for your ultimate target. But what I mean by career preparation is just preparing for the job search and job application process. So while you're a freshman and a sophomore going to your career center or working with a career coach or a career consulting company like Anderson Prep to figure out how to be competitive in job applications, how to create a compelling resume that differentiates itself from the 200 other resumes on the table, how to write a really effective cover letter, how to create a strong presence on LinkedIn, how to converse with others in an interview setting, how to network. You need to be learning these skills in your first few years, because that's going to help you get the internships that are later going to help you get that first job out of college, which hopefully will be a job that requires a college degree and that you find personally satisfying. So those are the 3 pieces of advice that I will give you for avoiding underemployment. If you want to work with me more on this, I love meeting and working with students. You can find me at andersoncareerprep.com. My name's Heather Anderson. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.